Hi lovelies! I am so glad you're here because today I am sharing an absolutely delicious dessert that will not only satisfy your sweet tooth, but comes with a bevy of health benefits as well. It's this amazing matcha pistachio tart, and it's actually super simple to prepare and almost too pretty to eat. So our first step for this amazing tart is going to be preparing our crust. And I love this because this entire recipe is no bake. So the crust is actually a combination of beautiful ingredients like oats and pistachios, some coconut, with some sweet dates sort of holding it all together. And what we'll do is essentially just press that all into a pan and end up with something really, really wonderful. So I'm going to start by getting my pistachios in my food processor. And I want to give them a quick head start on the rest of my ingredients, so I'm just going to pulse them a couple times to get them broken up. You can also do this with a high-powered blender if you don't have a food processor on hand. It's totally up to you. Then I'm just going to remove my lid and it's time to add the rest of my ingredients. So first up, I have got some dates. I love dates because they're really, really sweet, so we don't need to add any additional sugar to this. Now, I of course have removed the pits from my dates. That's really important because your food processor is not going to like blending up those pits. You want this to be nice and smooth. I'm also going to be adding some oats to this. So these are some quick cooking oats. You could use old-fashioned rolled oats if that's what you have on hand at home. I have got a little bit of shredded coconut here. I'm using unsweetened because the dates are already quite sweet, but if you want to use sweetened, if that's what you have, no problem at all. And finally, I'm going to be adding just a tablespoon or two of coconut oil. I'm just gonna get all of that right into my food processor, and then we wanna give this a really good blend. Don't hesitate to let this blend up for say 2 or 3 minutes. You want it to resemble sort of coarse crumbs. And if you notice that it's sort of sticking to itself like this, that's exactly the texture that you're looking for. You want it to be nice and sticky and pliable. You can also do a little bit of a taste test at this point. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Next, it's time to turn our attention to our tart pan. Now what I have here is an 8-inch tart pan, and this one has a removable bottom, which makes it so easy when it comes time to remove your tart. I also have greased this liberally with some coconut oil and a pastry brush. Just wanted to make sure that it was really well greased so that when I want to remove my tart, it comes out super easy. Then I'm just going to transfer this mixture with my hands right into my tart pan. And I'm going to start sort of using my hands to press it into the plate and up the sides. You want to make sure that you get a lot of your mixture all across the pan, and ideally it's in a nice even layer. This is definitely a job the kids can help with if you've got kids at home. I know my daughter loves to get her hands dirty in the kitchen, and if she helps make it, she is way more likely to eat it, and that is always a good thing, especially if you've got a picky eater like I sometimes do. Once you've got that all packed down with your hands into the bottom and up the sides of your tart pan, what I like to do is use the bottom of a measuring cup and just get in there and really give it one last final pack to make sure you get a nice sort of even crust on your tart. Then I'm going to get this into the refrigerator while I get to work on mixing up the filling for this amazing tart. And that's where our delicious matcha flavor is going to come from. Once again, we're going to be using our food processor for this job, but a blender would totally work here as well. First, I want to go ahead and add 1 cup of soaked cashews to the bowl of my food processor. By soaking your cashews, you really soften them up and make them a much nicer texture for a recipe like this. And to that, I'm going to be adding some coconut cream. So really important that you're using coconut cream in this recipe as opposed to coconut milk, which is much more liquidy. Coconut cream is really just the fatty part of coconut milk. It's got a high fat concentration, but it's really rich and super delicious. Next, for sweetness here, I'm using some maple syrup. Agave or honey will do in this recipe, and of course you can adjust the sweetness to taste. Maybe you like it a little more sweet or a little less sweet, totally up to you. And then I'm also going to be adding my matcha powder. This, of course, is the secret to making this beautiful tart a gorgeous bright green. If you're not familiar with matcha powder, it's this super concentrated version of green tea that is just bursting with amazing antioxidants. and something called L-theanine, which is great at helping to reduce stress and anxiety. You should know when you're working with matcha, the brighter green it is, the better it is. So this one is a nice bright hue, and that's what I like to see. And just for a little more flavor, I'm going to add another splash of vanilla extract as well. Then I'm just going to pop the lid on my food processor and let this blend until it's as smooth as I can possibly get it. You may want to just scrape down the sides of your food processor a few times during this process to make sure everything gets really well blended. And then you won't believe how smooth and creamy this becomes. And then at this point, the only thing left to do is to transfer it into our tart crust and then get it into the freezer for at least 2 hours. I highly recommend freezing this before serving to get the best texture. About 15 to 20 minutes before I'm ready to serve my tart, I like to remove it from the freezer and allow it to come to room temperature. That makes it really easy to remove it from its tart pan, and then I just top it with some chopped pistachios for extra color and crunch. And oh my gosh, guys, you have a dessert you are absolutely going to love. Irresistible flavors, such a nice texture. Creamy, dreamy, delicious. Don't believe me? I hope you'll try it for yourselves. Don't forget to share this yummy video with friends so they can enjoy this recipe as well. And be sure to subscribe for unlimited access to Taste Life. Thanks for watching.